So, horror story. I mean, this is the main reason why you don't get into new and off the plan. Builders can go bust very easily, especially in the later end of the cycle as inflation's running higher. Builders operate off 0 to 5% margins, very tight margins in the building game. So it only takes 6, 12 months of a delay to put a builder in the red. Based off my own experience working for builders, it is a tough game. So margins are tight. So when inflation's running at 7, 8, 9%, it only takes 6, 12 months for them to start losing money if the job gets delayed. So hence why a lot of builders recently have been going bust. So best to steer away from buying off the plan and relying on a builder to complete the project, because the risk is definitely on the higher side that they won't be able to complete. You want to look to buy established properties that have been built 20, 30 years ago, because firstly, you can buy them under bank value and get a good deal, but also you don't have that risk of having money tied up and never actually getting your end product or your investment property. You may be thinking, why do builders go bust? Well, as I said before, inflation's running hot, and when there's tight margins, it doesn't take much for a builder to get in the red and start losing money on a job. If they've got multiple jobs and they're stretched thin, easily have cash flow issues and wind up being broke. So, I mean, government's talking about stepping in and making more legislation and regulations. That's only going to slow the industry down even further. There needs to be less regulation, take the red tape off, let there be a free market. If there's more government intervention, it's only going to make things slower and hold up ultimate supply coming to the market, because we've got all this immigration coming. We're expecting another 500,000 this year on the back of 700,000 over 2022 and 2023. So that is record numbers of migration. I mean, I've even got property out in regional Queensland. Recently had tenants move out, put it back on the market for lease, had 15 applications. Got 5 or 6 of which are very good applications, but 15, that's incredible. Massive under shortage of supply, and builders going bust every second day of the week is not improving the supply factor that's going to help the market move to its equilibrium of allowing more supply come on to meet that demand. So what does that mean? Prices are going to keep rising rapidly. So construction sector is stalled. Firstly, because you've got builders going bust, but developers are also sitting on their hands with the high cost of interest, with the high cost of materials and labor. Lots of developments don't even stack up right now. So talking to some key developers in the industry recently, it now costs anywhere between 6 to 700,000 if you want to build a unit in Sydney. By the time you build it, I mean, we're buying units for 330 to 350 mark, so half of that. So that's why you can see that developers aren't just going to start building for the sake of it, because they need to make a profit. They need to make it stack up. It needs to be a profitable project to make it sense to start building. Even though they have an approval to build a block of units, not just going to just start whacking them up and building them for the sake of it, because if they build them 100 units, they all cost 600,000, 700,000 to build. Once on completion, if they can only sell them for 500, they're in a negative position. So they're not just going to build it. The market needs to move at least 30 to 40%, talking to people in the industry, in order to make projects stack up before developers are going to start building. And that's years away. So when there's a restriction of supply, being builders going bust, developers sitting on their hands, and there's a massive demand coming from the federal government increasing the immigration rate to keep the GDP in positive position, there's an acute lack of supply, massive demand, prices are going to keep rising. And once prices do rise 20–30%, that is going to set off then the biggest construction boom, I think, in history, because once everything stacks up, the demand there is there, and once everything aligns and their jobs become profitable, it'll be away at the races again, everything going gangbusters. And this is tying in very nicely if you understand and study the 18-year land cycle. As we come into 2025 and 2026, I believe we'll get that growth in the market that will then set off all these new projects that will then start commencing towards the peak of the market. Then there'll be roaring construction projects going up everywhere. And then the market will then turn from being an undersupplied to an oversupply market, which will then inevitably turn the market down into its next land-driven downturn, which is due post 2026. So very interesting news. This is the insight of what this ultimately implication will be. An acute lack of supply is here to stay for, I believe, at least another couple of years. And it won't be until the market moves 20 or 30% in value, property prices, before more supply will come to market. We have seen also to that triple the amount of builders going bust, have tripled since 2022. So great time to set up a building company, as that is a definite demand out there. Until next time, this is my thoughts on the construction industry. Time will tell. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.